You pull into a gas station on a road trip. You've got your concealed carry permit in your wallet, the one you trained for, paid for, and waited on. You walk inside to grab a coffee. And in some states, until today, that simple walk could have made you a criminal. Not because you did anything dangerous, not because anyone felt unsafe, but because the owner of that gas station never put up a sign saying guns were allowed, and the state treated that silence as a no. This morning, the Supreme Court of the United States changed that. So, what actually changed? Does this mean you can now carry anywhere you want? Does it override a business owner's no firearms sign? Does it touch your permit at all? And the question I want you sitting with: who gets to decide whether you're welcome on private property with a firearm, the state or the person who owns the property? Stick with me, because the headlines you're going to see today get almost all of this wrong. If you carry or you're thinking about it, this channel exists to give you the law straight. No spin, no panic, no agenda. Hit subscribe so you're not getting your rights explained to you by a viral video that made it all up. And drop a comment. In your state, have you ever had to ask a business for permission before walking in armed? I read these. Before we go one step further, I need to clear something out of the way because it's everywhere right now. There are videos and posts claiming a federal court just ended gun permits nationwide in a unanimous, every judge agreed ruling that the media supposedly buried. Let me be direct with you. That did not happen. There is no such ruling. That claim has been circulating for months as straight-up clickbait, and it never names a single case, because there isn't one. If a video tells you a court changed everything but never tells you the name of the case, that's your signal to walk away. The real ruling has a name. It's Wolford versus Lopez. It came down today, June 25th, 2026. And it's actually a big deal, just not the deal those other channels are selling you. Here's the background in plain terms. 4 years ago, in a case called Bruin, the Supreme Court said the Second Amendment protects your right to carry a handgun outside the home for self-defense, and that states can't force you to prove some special need to get a permit. Important detail people skip. Bruin did not abolish permits. States can still run permit systems with background checks, training, and objective requirements. That part is still true today. After Bruin, Hawaii passed a new law. It flipped the default rule for private property that's open to the public. Your stores, your gas stations, your restaurants. Under that Hawaii law, if you had a carry permit, you still couldn't bring your firearm onto that property unless the owner gave you express, affirmative permission first. No permission, no carry, and breaking that rule was a misdemeanor you could do jail time for. People nicknamed it the vampire rule because, like a vampire, you couldn't come in unless you were explicitly invited. Today, in a 6-3 decision written by Justice Alito, the Supreme Court struck that rule down. The court held that making no guns the automatic default on property open to the public and putting the burden on the permit holder to get permission first violates the Second Amendment. Now here's where I'm going to be more careful than the channels chasing the click, because the nuance is the whole point. This ruling changes the default. It does not erase the property owner's choice. A business owner can still say no firearms with a sign, with a word from an employee, and that still carries weight. What the court rejected is the state forcing that no on every owner automatically, whether the owner wanted it or not. The decision shifts the question from did the owner say yes back to did the owner say no. So the honest answer to can I carry anywhere now is it depends. It depends on the property. It depends on whether the owner has posted or told you otherwise. And it depends a lot on your state, which is the next thing you need to hear. Don't assume your state just transformed overnight. Sort yourself into one of these groups. If you're in one of the 45 or so states that already let licensed gun owners carry onto publicly open private property by default, nothing about your day-to-day just changed. You were already operating under the rule the court just confirmed. Hawaii is the state whose law was struck down. Its vampire rule for private property open to the public can no longer be enforced as written. A handful of states, New York, California, Maryland, and others, had tried similar default restriction laws. Most of those had already been blocked or tied up in court. Today's ruling makes it far harder for any of them to revive that approach. Notice what that means. The loudest version of this story, everything changed for everyone overnight, is the least accurate. For most of the country, today is a confirmation. For a few states, it's a real shift, so forget the noise. Here's what a careful, responsible carrier does with this information. Keep your permit. This ruling did not end permits. In most states, you still need one, and it still matters when you travel and when you deal with law enforcement. Respect the sign. If a business posts no firearms or an employee tells you no, that's still their right. The ruling protects the default, not your override of an owner's clear no. Know the off-limits places that did not change. Schools, government buildings, airports past security, courthouses, and other sensitive locations are still restricted. Today's case was about private property open to the public, nothing more. Recheck the law in every state you travel through. Reciprocity and carry rules still vary line to line across the map. One ruling on one Hawaii law does not flatten 50 different rulebooks. When in doubt, ask or look for the sign. That single habit keeps you out of almost every avoidable problem. Keep the permit. Respect the sign. Know your state. Keep the permit. Respect the sign. Know your state. Say it before every trip. It'll serve you better than any viral headline ever will. Here's the bottom line. The Supreme Court did not end permits today, and it did not hand you the right to ignore a property owner. What it did was decide who sets the default on property open to the public, and it said the state can't force a blanket no guns onto every owner automatically. That's a real, meaningful ruling. It just isn't the cartoon version going viral right now. And that gap between what actually happened and what gets the most clicks is exactly why this channel exists. You deserve to understand your rights from the actual ruling, with the actual case name, not from someone who made it up. If this was useful, subscribe so the next ruling reaches you straight. And tell me in the comments, did the headlines in your feed today get this right, or did they sell you the fake version?